We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the Fall Semester. It is Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021. At this time that we're recording during the afternoon, many of you are in transit to your homes to enjoy a well-deserved Thanksgiving break. But I wanted to make sure that I recorded a class session this week so we could check progress on assignment 19, classmate blog critique, do some advanced research on assignment 20, the wild card, which can be anything that you choose, which technically will not be due until Thursday of next week, and then go into the archives, in this case, all the way back, guys, to the fall semester of 2015, when we first began putting blogs together in this course for assignments 1 through 20. What did students in 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2015 do for their wildcard projects? We're skipping over last year because we included the visual journalism project into the entire 20 assignments as a whole. We were adapting somewhat, as you're well aware, due to the pandemic. We started early and ended early, so there weren't as many assignments that were completed 1 year ago. Before we go any further, a friendly reminder as to upcoming projects, dates, and requirements. Google Drive is first. This is the game plan. We're looking at assignment 19 today, the classmate blog critique, realizing, as I told you last week, there may be some of you who by today's class session may not necessarily be caught up to 19. It will have no bearing on your grades. We'll go ahead and take a look at the rest of those coming up 1 week from today after we return from Thanksgiving break. A reminder, though, the wild card can really be anything that you want. It could be another opinion piece. It could be entertainment or popular culture, trending on social media. It could be numeracy, civics, public records, listening posts, anything that might be a derivation or something similar to what we have already discussed. But as you're well aware, in all of my public speaking, both introductory and advanced, mass communication, and mass media courses, I will give you the option for some kind of wildcard project because we go through so much data during the course of a term. There's going to be something that may be left behind or some research that you would like to examine. And the wildcard can really be anything that you want. Witness the fact that when we get near the end of today's class, a wildcard project produced by Dacia Pettis, who is on track to get her master's degree from Arkansas State University in mass communication in the spring of 2022. In this course, 6 years ago, she produced a short video for her wildcard project on a performance by Encore. It is something that not a lot of people have done, but I do appreciate the creativity. And of course, keep in mind that when you are at this location, take a look at what your classmates are working on all during the term, because I think that is going to help stimulate your creativity. And as you're going to see in a couple of minutes, this is exactly the idea that a couple of you make when you are good putting together critiques of your classmates. Also, a friendly reminder before we move on to Blackboard and upcoming recorded class sessions as to point allocations, that there are 300 points in the course. Once you are completed with all 20 assignments, beginning at the end of next week, when we return, I am going to post grades in the Grade Center for the blogs, a maximum of 20 points. Actually, a maximum of 200 points. And there it is. 200 points for Google Blogger, 50 points for the final project, and 50 for class participation. If the past is any indicator, most of you are going to be able to look at anything on Blackboard until at least the end of final exam week. I'm not sure when it is taken away from you, the access, but I will certainly try at some point late next week or when all of your 20 assignments are completed to give you an honest concept of where you stand grade-wise, because 90% of 200 points is 90 times 2 is 180, and then 160 would be the minimum for a B, and 140 the minimum for a C on the blog. Timeliness is a big factor. If you're always playing from behind, I think it's important that I treat everyone the same and everyone fairly. If people are always catching up, it's not fair to people who were working on their projects in real time and getting material done by class time. Doesn't necessarily mean it will hurt your grade all that much, but timeliness is a factor. I've been talking about that all during the semester. Also remember, this is where you can examine 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2015 versions of blogs produced by students in previous versions of this course. And while I am at Google Drive, the format looks slightly different. On Tuesday of next week, we are going to be looking at a lot of these visual journalism final projects that were produced in different ways, going all the way back to 2012, 2013, 2014. And don't forget, this is an important part of the course. Take a close look at your news blogs on your cell phones. Do they look, feel, read, have the research capability of a professional news operation? I don't think it's asking too much for you always to look at it from a professional perspective. With billions of blogs, as you're well aware, around the world, what makes yours stand out? Always have that in the back of your mind, with the mother's milk, of course, being the quality of the reporting, the writing, the research, the editing of everything that you put together. Sloppiness is unacceptable. You will not get hired if you put together something that is unprofessional, sloppy, poor grammar, poor spelling all the way through. That's why having a critical but positive eye on the work that you perform and that of your classmates is so important. As you can see in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, this goes back to the fall of 2017. Kobe Armstrong actually shot that with his Apple device in the 302 classroom when all of the computer tables were still in there. Today's video will be listed as video U. You can see that with all of these screen grabs, sometimes it's me with video A, sometimes it is going to be a screen grab, as you can see with Homecoming, or you can see down here, that was Alexis with one of her opinion pieces. And then the two that are right next to each other are actually both taken from Finley's blog. With YouTube, you can choose the video still. Google Drive chooses it automatically. The advantage to taking a news writing course in particular online is because there's just so much material that you can look at to give you templates on what might work for you and your particular projects. We technically have, after today, 3 more class periods for fall 2021. And I already have them set up on Blackboard. On occasion, some of you can join me, and just in case you want to, here is the setup. This is in the professor's mode on Blackboard for next week and finals. It is not, and never has been, a requirement for you to be here during my recording sessions. I like the idea of Tuesday, Thursday afternoon, 2:10 to 3:30 or somewhere in that range, because it gives many of you an opportunity during the day to go ahead and refresh your blogs, take a look at what your classmates are working on as well. We're currently in progress today. I already have Tuesday of next week with the cursor at this time, Thursday of next week at this time with the cursor. And then down here, I feel it's important to at least have one more class period that is available both on Blackboard and downloaded to the website. As you can see, I am going to be here on Wednesday, December 8th of finals week. Again, it is not a requirement and never has been that you show up live, but I want to one more time for the record, take a look at the progress that many of you are making on the final project, which is visual journalism. You can take until the end of finals week to complete it. So if I put all of your blogs up on the screen and someone is not quite completed with the final project or are still editing it, if it's data visualization or something that is a unique form of visual journalism reporting, that's okay. I just want everyone to see where we stand in the same way that we're doing today for the classmate blog critique. Today, Tuesday of next week, Thursday of next week, as we enter the month of December, and it goes by very quickly, as you're well aware. And then final exam week, Wednesday, December 8th, 2:10 to 3:30 p.m. And I should do one more thing while I'm at Blackboard, a friendly reminder that at the tools section, and I did this for intentional effect, go to Ultra, where I just was, and then where you've got the vertical bars, the menu, click on recordings, and you're going to see I have everything alphabetized. And if I want to go into arrange, and you can do this too, remember over here, guys, the first day of fall 2021, the semester began on August 18th, a Wednesday. So I click on August 18th, and all of a sudden, everything that we've done during the semester in reverse alphabetical order comes on the screen. Today, as I mentioned a moment ago, is video U. And what I do is to take all of these videos, download them to my hard drive, and then upload them back into my website. So what you can see is if you ever fall behind, I've tried to be very diligent in making it easy for you. Now to page 2. The first video that we recorded on Ultra was at the end of August. We had 2 class sessions on the old Blackboard, which I cannot access at the beginning of the semester. So from here all the way up until early October, and then scrolling back from early October continued until Thursday of last week. So all of these videos are going to be available for you at the website. And of course, that's the place where you can find all of the data. Anything that you need to know, whether it's the syllabus or anything else, is just available right here. I'll do that one more time for the record. There's the syllabus. And then at the syllabus area, all of the assignments that have been available during the semester. And at the instructor information, you've got my course schedule. You've got a link to the MassCom website, and my SAU business card, I think, winds up to be really large when I click on it. So that's pretty easy to see, and we'll leave it right there and come back to me for just a moment. Keeping in mind, I'll have one more bit of interactivity, and this is going to be my website before we get into Assignment 19, Classmate Blog Critique. So one more reminder that here's my website. From this location, just scroll down, and I take that mantra seriously. Think critically, research globally, write interactively, and that's what you're doing with your immersive style for the blogs. You don't have to scroll very far. We've always got MassCom first, and here is the news writing course, and this is the way that all of you see it, scrolling through. And by the way, let me put it back up here. Right here, everything in order: 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Everything you do is right here. all of the visual journalism presentations from years gone by before blogs, 2012, 13, and 14, the material I was talking about before, and all of these videos, this is the way that you see them at the website, including all the way down to video T. So in case you ever have challenges accessing Blackboard, my website is the place to go. And with that in mind, now let's start looking at assignment 19, classmate blog critique, and we'll work our way back to news apps and where others are. But it's really important as we transition from Thanksgiving break into, starting 1 week from today, the final week of the fall 2021 semester before finals. Let's see where we all are. It's really helpful to examine all of your classmates' work. Carlin is first. Her classmate blog critique, whenever you scroll to the website, this is the first thing you see. It is a screen grab that has been edited of Gwen. So let's go ahead, click on Read More, and examine what Carlin decided to do. These are the graphics that she provides, an edited screenshot of Gwen's London-themed website. And then there is another edited screenshot whenever you scroll down on her blog. And these look familiar to all of you by now because we are examining these on a frequent basis. Quote, whether you are a mass communication major or a mass media major like myself, you have to learn to take advice from other people and learn from others as well. Looking back at other classmates' work is definitely a big help when I need inspiration for an assignment, and Gwen's blog is the one I find myself looking at the most. Gwen has a very personalized blog, and she makes it very easy to understand. She always makes sure to go into full detail on her assignments, and this is a big help. Her blog is very colorful and organized, and it makes the blog seem very welcoming. While getting to view Gwen's posts, they always encouraged me to work harder on my post because hers always looks so professional. I would say this. Whenever I say the rising tide lifts all boats, if I'm a student in this class, I'm looking at everything because I feel that's going to help my inspiration and my creativity. Something that anybody does, whether it is Carlin or Haley or Gwen or Alexis or Jonathan or Finley or anyone whose name I haven't mentioned, I can look at all of those and just think, how can I take little bits and pieces of what they do and reflect on my creativity as a news reporter, writer, researcher? Gwen has a very personalized blog, and she makes it very easy to understand. She always makes sure to go into full detail on her assignments, and this is a big help. Her blog is colorful and organized, and it makes the blog seem very welcoming. While getting to view Gwen's posts, they always encourage me to work harder on my post because hers always looks so professional. And then we get into the screenshot that I showed you before of how her blog is displayed. And that is scrolling down. And of course, again, that is the top. Although Gwen's blog is the one I chose to critique, I also enjoyed looking at my other classmates to see what ideas they have had as well. I enjoyed being able to see how my classmates chose to personalize their blog, and it almost gives you an idea on their personality and things they enjoy. I have also enjoyed looking back on past classes to see what they have chosen to do for their blogs because the possibilities are endless. Boy, is that true, Carlin, when it comes to creating your blog. Since I have changed to being a mass media major, I have found myself to really enjoy the classes and the students who are taking them with me. I really like how you were able to personalize your work while getting to write about what is happening in the world today. Overall, I really enjoyed looking through your blog this semester, Gwen. Now, again, if I wanted to share any of this on my social media platforms, which would be Twitter first, Facebook second, that's how I could do it. If any of you have Pinterest pages and wanted to share, that was my first social media platform about 10 years ago. So if you wanted to put up any type of pins regarding this data or anything related to it, you'd be more than welcome to. Let's slowly go to the top, click on Carlin's name, and as you're well aware, let's do this one more time from top until we get to other posts or more posts. During our last class session, we actually went all the way to number 1. I won't be doing that today. You can see in this template, it has more posts, but the design consistency is the same. And that's where it's really important for you to number everything and make it easy for an audience around the world to understand the way in which you've got all of the blogs set up. And that is Carlin's website all the way up the top for the Classmate blog critique. And that will move us back. Let me make sure that I have this correct, because these two are the same. And in just a moment, because they look exactly the same, I am going in reverse alphabetical order in terms of number 19, Classmate blog critique. And I am going to show you now the website for Taylor. And she's also looking at Gwen. And let's do the same thing that we did, and notice she also does something else. Now let's click on this to see if it opens within the window. And it does. So there is Gwen's website that opens within the window of Taylor's assignment 19. Now let's click on this, and similar to what we had from Carlin, we have two different graphics. The second one is slightly different than the first, provided by Carlin. I read Carlin's in its totality, word for word. I probably won't do that all the way through. Being a mass communication major, it is a unique and rewarding experience to constantly be surrounded by creative and intellectual minds who are learning and developing skills in communications that we can learn from each other, as well as in the classroom. One of the best things about being a mass communications major is our unique availability to our classmates' work, so we can examine and evaluate different ideas separate from our own. Today, I will be discussing my classmate and friend Gwen Gunnell's blog and how she has been a great example for exceptional writing and communication through her blogs. So in this paragraph, she focuses on Gwen's page stood out to me because she included a large aesthetic picture that captures the immediate attention of the viewer as soon as you access her page. What have I told you in all of my courses? Arresting visuals are an essential element of that digital doorway. With billions of blogs around the world, what makes yours stand out? You have to make sure that they click on it, or what's inside is not going to matter. The colors and pictures create a calming and welcoming theme, which drew me to her blog. And then we move on. Besides her aesthetic appeal, Gwen's written work is exceptional as well. In each publication on her blog, Gwen dives into great detail about the given topics. One of her blog posts that stuck out to me was her opinion post with a link about James Corden and the petition Wicked fans are signing to keep him out of the production. And here is a link to that post. And as you can see, as you're well aware, Gwen was not a fan of putting James Corden in Wicked. And also notice, whenever we were back at my website, I talked about the aspect of writing interactively. We've seen that already on 2 occasions with what we have with the classmate blog critique from Taylor. And in this case, you can see that Gwen is also writing interactively. Now remember, when I say write interactively, it means providing links within the context of anything that you produce. Just like her active voice, Gwen does a great job providing active sources throughout her blog, as well as interactive pictures and links available to viewers. And here is her last sentence, which really is important when you're writing for the media. Quote, in this blog post, Gwen discussed this entertaining topic with an active voice and energetic tone throughout the blog. This is something I have also indicated to you, even though this is a news reporting and writing class and editing is very important as well as the aesthetics. The meat and potatoes, the mother's milk is the quality of the writing and the research, but doing it in an active voice, ideally for media consumption in a media format. Final paragraph, quote, Gwen's blog is a great example of a creative and organized blog that attracts many viewers, and it has been an all-around product of a professional blog. Although I took time today to look at Gwen's blog, I have enjoyed reviewing all of my classmates' blogs to see their creative ideas and unique communication skills throughout the semester. Starting about 6 or 7 years ago, when we were transitioning into Google Blogger, I wanted to have assignments in many of my classes where all of you folks had the opportunity to look at your classmates' work in real time. The classmate blog critique is one of my favorite projects in these types of courses because it shows you what works, what doesn't, and how all of you can improve your content and your visuals with any type of a blog format within the context of a semester in any course where we produce them. And this is what Taylor's website looks like, similar to what we were examining previously with Carlin from the standpoint of design consistency. And there is more posts. Again, everything is numbered. The only difference between Carlin and Taylor is that Carlin puts up the hashtag, Taylor puts up the number. Still looking at assignment 19, classmate blog critique, in reverse alphabetical order of these particular projects. The next blog we are going to examine for this course is Haley. And we'll leave it there for just a moment before scrolling through. I've always liked the uniqueness of how she puts this together with the lavender newsprint. So we'll scroll down and get to classmate blog critique. She has included a screenshot of what I provide for this class, and we'll leave it there for just a moment. Her graphics include a screenshot of what I provide on the website for virtually all of your classmates' links, a screenshot of Alexis getting a shout out today, and Gwen, and Morgan. Morgan's had a little bit of an issue with formatting in the Blackboard app. She is also an introduction to mass communication, and she's indicated there have been a couple of issues working off campus, so she's not quite to assignment 19. Quote, as much as I have enjoyed viewing the blogs of my fellow classmates, there are a few that stood out to me. Before I go into detail on who these blog pages belong to, I want to say that I am truly impressed by everyone's work and have learned so much from reading the different articles. Each blog is unique and has character that shows the personality of the writer through the screen. Although I have never met any of you face to face, which is something that happens in an online course as we transition into full face to face coursework in spring of 2022, coming out of the pandemic, I have a good read on your personalities from the design, creative aspect, and writing of your blogs as a whole and individual articles. And that brings us to the first of her 3 shout outs, and this one is to Alexis. You'll recall that what Haley has done is to put 3 large screenshots up from their respective blogs. The first blog I want to show my appreciation to is Alexis Rowland. Ms. Rowland's blog was unique. I loved how she took the typical layout and made it her own. Now, I agree with that, Haley. I really like the faded note paper design. I found myself drawn to her articles more because of the look of her page. That's the aesthetics coming into play. Then she says, quote, the setup of previous posts is really easy to navigate. Now, remember, that checklist that I have on the website, I talk about navigation. Is it optimal? When researching for assignments, I find on pages from last year's, the navigation was a bit difficult. That's really because Google Blogger is much more user-friendly now than in years gone by. So I was really happy to see that Alexis was the complete opposite. I also enjoyed her writing style. It showed her personality and was very easy to read and digest. Then we move on. The next classmate I would like to give props to is Gwen Gunnels. And who can say props? Integrated assignment. Well, of course you can here. Gwen has never disappointed when it came to her writing. I know that I can always depend on her having a well put together article each week. I admire her writing style a lot, and I have a specific liking towards her topic choices. This is not the first time I have been in a class with Gwen, so I am learning that she has a very consistent writer who values her work. I also enjoy the column aspect of her blog. It is nice to come across a page that doesn't feel overwhelming to the reader. It's going to reflect your personality as a news professional. Lastly, I want to acknowledge my favorite blog page this semester, Morgan McDaniel. Now, I should say that Morgan has a background in creative design and also with graphics. So she downloaded what you see here from an online source. This is the screenshot provided by Haley. I asked Morgan about this previously during the semester, and she said all of this data had been taken from a different source and downloaded into Google Blogger, and that's where the experimentation comes into play. I absolutely love the artistry of her page and how different it is from the rest. Her page exhibits professionalism and creativity without overstepping boundaries into a jumbled mess. I was very impressed and inspired by her page and uniqueness. I love her writing style and her article choices. I feel that she made a large effort to being unique and standing out. Her blog page displays her personality and leaves the reader wanting more. I have to say her page format and style is something I will use to inspire me for future blogs. Don't quote me on this, Haley, but I believe Morgan is one of the interactive media majors, which is a three-pronged emphasis in art, mass communication, and business, I believe. But I'll ask her about that when I see her after the break. If I wanted to share this on social media, as I told you with Carlin, I could go on Twitter or Facebook, which are my two main platforms of choice. So because we were talking about this, let's examine her graphics one more time. We had Morgan in reverse order, Gwen, Alexis, and then what she has taken from my website. Go to the top, as we did during our last class session. We will scroll to either older posts or more posts. The verbiage depends upon the style that you use, and this one goes down. That's older posts on the right-hand side. And this format goes all the way down to public records at the state level. But I could use Haley as a perfect example. Does this look like a professional blog? Everything we've done so far, which is Carlin, Taylor, Haley, do these look professional as we transition into someone who's already gotten a couple of shout outs today? This is Gwen's website and her classmate blog critique. With a style that looks familiar to all of you by now, we will transition in just a moment down to her classmate blog critique. And she's looking at Taylor. So from this standpoint, Gwen begins by saying, quote, As a mass communication major at Southern Arkansas University, I am often inspired by my classmates' professionalism and quality in all of their assignments. I enjoy reading what they post and find it rewarding to view the different writing styles and techniques used to get their points across. Throughout our classes together, I have noticed the effort and talented writing put into the work of my friend and classmate, Taylor Rich. Keep in mind, as I told you previously, you can look at one person, you can look at two people, as we just saw with Haley Hines, you can look at a number of people, whatever works for you. After seeing her blog post critiquing my website, I thought it fitting to critique hers as well. Perfect example, everyone's looking at everyone else. The rising tide hopefully will lift all boats. Taylor uses a template that is easy to follow and has an appealing color scheme that I would refer to as clean. Now, keep in mind, all of you have been using terminology that's very similar to that so far. I like this template because you can easily scroll through the blog posts and it looks professional on a cell phone. That is key, and it's such a good point that is brought up by Gwen that I showed you from 4 years ago. The photo that Kobe Armstrong took that's on the website. How does it look on your cell phone? I love how Taylor used a photo to commemorate the Christmas season. This gives her website not only its own personality, but highlights hers also. So Gwen provides a large screenshot of Taylor. And then, of course, that is Taylor's entertainment or popular culture presentation on Ree Drummond, the Pioneer Woman. Many of you will remember the Pioneer Woman was done as a media presentation in my introduction, in my Principles of Public Relations course for business or entertainment earlier in the semester. So that obviously is someone that is a familiar face. As you can see, Taylor's personality and her website design, you can hear it in her writing. Throughout each of her blog posts, you can hear Taylor's voice coming through the screen. Really important. Can I hear your voice? Even though this is a professional news blog, your voice is visual as well as written. So what is your visual voice? We see it here. We see it here. And we also see it in a graphic that I'm showing you for the first time larger, and that is a screenshot for the news app critique that Taylor just did. She also uses web links and images to her advantage. Above that, she says, quote, she has a perfect balance between sharing information and engaging with the reader. Her posts are also very organized and read in a story-like manner. She is well versed in using images to match her story and includes her sources. Now remember, the visuals and the text ideally are going to be blended together, as well as the links for that immersive package that I talk about in all of my courses that include blogs, Instagram, Twitter, other social media sites. She concludes the paragraph by saying, you never feel as if you were missing a piece of the story, and you can see the professionalism in all her work. And here are screenshots back to back. I look forward to seeing more of the work Taylor does in the future and witnessing the accomplishments she will make in the media. The same goes for each of my classmates as they continue their media careers. Not only do I enjoy looking at my classmates' work, but I always learn from them as I continue to improve my own writing style. And I think the last point that Gwen brings up is very important because all of our writing styles are going to adapt. You look at something that you produced for me as we scroll through Gwen's website, from Introduction to Mass Communication, when graduating all the way through Senior Research Project, there will be a maturation, a change in your writing style from being a beginning freshman to a graduating senior. And if you go on to graduate studies, you'll find that it still is continuing to shape and grow and advance as you get older. Now there's older posts, and hers goes down to number 10 listing posts. So this setup is somewhat similar to what we saw from Haley. And before we get to the next classmate blog critique, which is Finley, I'll come back on camera and say this. There are some of you, such as Carlin, that I have not seen during the course of the semester. If any of you need to talk to me about courses that you would like to take during spring of 2022, whether it be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday courses, which are international public relations and publicity and media campaigns, or the Tuesday, Thursday courses, such as media law and ethics, or MM3603, directed study in mass media 2, which is video, present, and future, or my advanced public speaking course during the spring term, just talk to me or send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. The work that's on the website, by the way, guys, is reflective of a promotional mentality. So if you run across any students at SAU who are interested in taking any of my courses for the spring, the work that's provided here is testament to the professionalism of your work, realizing that we still have much more to do before the end of the fall 2021 semester. So if you run across anyone who is interested in taking courses, by all means, feel free to not only promote the program, but to also encourage them to take courses coming up next spring. The next website is Finley, and Finley has caught up and everything is numbered. You can see she already has the wildcard project complete, but we'll be looking at that probably on Tuesday of next week. Let's scroll down to her classmate blog, but I intentionally left it at the top so you could see the stylistic approach she's taken. Now we can look at it right here, or we can click on it. What does it look like in this format whenever we click on assignment 19? Then it is shown right at the top of the screen. And a couple of you are using this format. It's one of those little quirks that I like in blogging for this particular platform. Google Blogger allows you to do a lot of different things, creatively speaking. We also have, in Finley's case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different screenshots. Similar to what we saw with Haley Hines, this is a shout out to Morgan. Not to break anyone's hearts or anything, but if I were to choose my favorite blog out of all of the blogs from this semester, I would have to choose Morgan McDaniel's. There are so many things I love about her blog, and I wish I could be as creative. Finley, I hear you. Whenever I see the work that you guys put up, sometimes at the end of the semester, I'll have that 30,000-foot perspective and think, you know what? A lot of this stuff is really good. Never perfect, always challenges with grammar, spelling, and syntax, and I don't call you on it here, but occasionally there will be something that needs to be tweaked, whether it be a contraction, a possessive, but it's one of those things where you always have, until all 20 assignments are completed to your benefit, the opportunity to tweak assignments 1 through 20, which is why, one more time, I don't put any grades on Blackboard for the 200-point blog because it is an entity unto itself. You tell me, Professor Reppert, now it's exactly the way that I want. You can go ahead and grade it as one piece all the way through. Her blog shows, continuing on now with Finley, how she pays close attention to detail, and you can really see that she has a passion for what she's doing in her blog, which I think inspires me as well. Morgan's website is extremely visually appealing, and that's true. When you click on the blog, you immediately recognize that it is not one of the templates Google Blogger offers, but instead a layout that she has designed herself in great detail, and we talked about that a couple of minutes ago. And even though most of you have already taken Intro to Mass Communication, if you take a look at Morgan's website for that class, it is also extremely creative, including how she puts together media quizzes. When you click on the blog, you immediately recognize that it is not one of the templates, as I mentioned a moment ago. One thing that is unique is when you have multiple tabs open in Safari, rather than the tab to her blog being the Google Blogger logo, it is instead a newspaper icon, which I have pictured above. And that's very creative on Finley's part to go ahead and include that in her critique. Another reason Morgan appeals to me is because she includes icons that are hyperlinks to share her blogs through different platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, email, WhatsApp, Pinterest, and comments. I strongly encourage you, as I go back to this one more time, if you can take Google Blogger into using a unique automotive analogy, supercharge it and incorporate elements that are not originally here, do it. Many of you as majors are going to have a variety of different blogs and courses before you graduate. So go ahead and make them, as Finley indicates, as appealing as possible, visually, aesthetically, but don't forget this. The copy is the most important thing because that makes the world go round. Morgan also includes a gorgeous image on the top of her blog, which I think was very creative, and she communicates her personality through this image. She's organized it in a way that is easy to navigate. And we'll take a look at Morgan's website in a few minutes, and I do like the creativity that she provides. I don't want to just discuss the design of Morgan's blog. I also want to discuss the content. Morgan's blog is concise and straight to the point, which allows people like me who don't like reading a lot of words, Finley, but would rather get the gist of the story in a small amount of words. I've told you that, of course, even though I'm teasing during the term, you don't necessarily have to write War and Peace for a news story, because especially when you're looking at it on your personal device, you're looking at it on a computer, you're looking at it on a phone, people aren't necessarily going to read in-depth articles on your phone. Short, succinct, to the point is good enough, but making sure that you're not oversimplifying it so facts are lost or taken out of context. She does a good job of highlighting the key points of her story without overwhelming her readers with too much information. Overall, I think Morgan has done a great job with her blog, and I look forward to seeing the word, that would be the work, W-O-R-K, she does in the future. Remember, I'm serving as an editing function, not giving you a hard time, but constructive advice. So you want to go in and clean that up. But this was a really good critique as the others, keeping in mind now that if I go to her name with this format, we'll go to the top of her blog, the wild card, which brings us now back to classmate blog critique. At this point, we are going to transition from what we have seen so far with classmate blog critiques into what the rest of the class is working on. Many of you are on assignment 18, which is the news app critique, and that will bring us to Joanna's website. Again, I'm going in roughly reverse alphabetical order for the number of the project that you are currently working on. And in Joanna's case, she is looking at the Google News app, and she has provided a variety of different graphics that I showed you during our last class section. These are all edited screenshots reversing to the front from a variety of sources, and it looks like most of those she got off of her phone. And then here is a link to Google, and it is opening in this window. And I did show you this link during class the other day. That is an NBC News link that she provides. All of these stories, as you can see, she has provided links, and we'll go through at least one more. And I believe there's one, there's two, there is three. The Washington Post, Dateline last week, quote, 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 12 months during the pandemic, close quote. And there you can see someone who is holding a photograph of her brother, who, according to the tagline, died of a cocaine overdose just a month after their mother died of COVID. And the COVID numbers, as you're well aware, are still dire, and they would be even worse if not for shots and boosters. Let's go back to the top of her blog. for the record, let's see what Juana has for the news critique. No need to worry, because it's by far the #1 app out of 9 other news apps if you just so happen to search on the internet by chance. And these are all of the screenshots with the links that I showed you just a moment ago. And then her opinion on the international issue is iPhone versus Android, which she thinks is better. And we looked at some of this during a previous class session, and we went through all of that turkey, not literally, but showed you the video down here from, I believe it's a place called the Meat Church in Texas, on how the gentleman actually cut the turkey in such a way that he was flattening it and put it on a grill and served it for a Thanksgiving meal. So that's what Joanna's website looks like, with 18 assignments down and 2 to go. The next one we are going to look at is Lauren's news app, and she is examining Twitter. And in Lauren's case, as many of you do, we go to read more. And let's go down to the 3rd paragraph. On the App Store, Twitter has a rating of 4.6. The few 1-star reviews mainly consist of people complaining about what other people tweet, and that's true. Twitter is not a good place to go whenever you're in trouble, because it is humorous and, as she says, funny at the same time, in a unique way, because at heart this is a networking app. Obviously people are going to have their own opinions. And I don't know what happened here, Lauren. It looks like you were trying to provide a graphic, but it did not upload. I thank Twitter for being my only source of news intake. I think it can be used as a great tool to find news articles from many different points of view, as opposed to just one news site. Whether it is controversial or not, I'll continue to get my news from Twitter. So do I. I just scroll through, and of course the great thing is, you're well aware, and there's a link to Digital News Report, which is opening in this window. To me, the great thing about Twitter is that you can tailor your news feed. So a lot of the snarky comments that you might get are taken out of your feed. So I won't put it up on the screen, but right now I have 144 news feeds that I am currently following on Twitter. Some are from traditional sources, some are from online sources. But that is the source that she provides from the Digital News Report, and that's what her news app critique looks like. And then she says, Twitter isn't your typical news app, and that's so true, because it really is a news feed, as she correctly points out in the paragraph. And of course, whenever I'm talking about trending news or relevant news of the day, as she talks about here, one of the things that I think about when we get right to the source is my reason for trending news on Twitter is because so many people use that as a source of information. And I think Lauren does a very good job of putting her critique into a succinct, tight, well-written summary. This is what her website looks like in terms of design consistency, with the numbers all the way down. Easy to understand when we get to, in this particular case, more posts. And continuing on, our next website that we are going to look at, and we won't look at all of these for an extended period of time. Some of these we've seen the projects before. This is the website for Alexis, and she'll be talking with us after the break on her classmate blog critique. You recall watching last week's class period that she talked about her BuzzFeed. Alexis, I hear you in the background. Have you already completed the classmate blog critique? Do you want me to refresh this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know we talked about this before class, where you'd indicated it was a work in progress, but I'll go ahead and refresh this in real time. And Gwen is getting a shout out right at the top. And again, we talked about this before class, but this is your classmate blog critique, and I am guessing, because it is late on Tuesday afternoon, you may be one of the last people still in one of the residence facilities, and you may want to explain why you are still on campus because of your responsibilities.
Yes, I'm an RA, and I'm not going to be able to leave until probably tomorrow morning because tonight we have to like check out everyone and check their rooms, make sure there's nothing's plugged in that could start a fire, like a curling iron or any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um,
And I should say for the record, it is past 3:30 on Tuesday afternoon, and of course I'm recording from home, but I'm guessing right now on campus it's probably very quiet.
yes.
So if anyone had to catch up on assignments during break and they couldn't leave like you until tomorrow, now would be the time, which
Yes.
gave you the opportunity, but because it's so quiet in your responsibility as an RA, to go
Mhm.
ahead and finish your classmate blog critique. So tell us what you've got here.
So I will say I do need to fix my photo. I'm just gonna point that out because I tried to take a screenshot, but it has all of my tabs. So I'm probably gonna critique that.
So this
Um,
is a work in progress. Is that what you're saying?
yes, I didn't think it
That's
was. I
fine.
thought I was done, but it has all my tabs. um, but yeah. So I decided to do Carlin's. I actually didn't know. I already chose Carlin's before we started class, but hers was the first that was mentioned, so that was pretty cool. But I really like looking at her blog. Every time you bring her up in class, I always like try and pay attention, and I really like hearing about each of her posts. I did have a couple of like nitpicks because overall her blog is really well done, and she's a great writer. But I did have a couple nitpicks. I really want her to update her like biography with a picture of herself, and also like, is this her major, is this her minor? Because for me it's my minor. And I really wanted to learn more about her. I get her personality from her individual posts through her writing, but I don't get it from her actual page. I
I'm
also
going to put her I'm
sorry.
going to put her website up on the screen
Okay.
because this is something that for a lot of you you tend to forget about. Now, what you're looking at, you've got your microphone open. Do you see the cursor on screen,
Yes.
Alexis? Okay, so Carlin, what she's talking about is we want to know what you look like. And of course, in Haley's case, I've talked about this to her in person and online. When you go to the website for Haley Hines, it usually says something along the lines of "Hi, beautiful people" or something, but her personality comes through whenever you click on it. I'm looking at this right now, and Haley says, "Hi, beautiful people. I am a student at Southern Arkansas University majoring in mass communication." So you see her face. Let me put Haley's up on the screen now. We'll eventually come back to you, but this is what Alexis is talking about. And by the way, being nitpicky is okay because that's what I do whenever I'm looking at spelling or grammar or syntax, but I'm doing it from a standpoint of positive constructive criticism. When I was a student, I did not like the nitpicking that was negative, where it just felt like it was not meant for any other reason for belittling purposes. So when I do it, it is how you can take something which is good and make it better. Now, this is what is being referred to by Alexis. This is Haley's website, and that's what it looks like when you see it. The photo identifying her, and then how she is identifying herself. And then when you go to the profile has all of the courses that someone has taken from me. Now let me put Carlin's back up on the screen for comparative purposes, and we'll eventually come back to the classmate blog critique. But just to show you, because we had this up a moment ago. So what you'll want to do, Carlin, is to put your face on here, and then when we visit the profile, here you can see that those are the courses Carlin has taken. Same thing with Haley, same thing with Alexis, even though, as Alexis mentioned a couple of minutes ago, she is, are you listed as a minor?
Yes.
Okay, so as a minor. The only thing you'd want to change here, Carlin, is, well, it looks like you had two different blogs for Intro to Masscom. You'd want to go ahead and delete that one. But the more that you take classes from me, this is going to populate, and you'll want to make sure that your face is listed there. So that's what it looks like when we see it. It's very well done, and it's a relevant point because we want to identify blog with face. And now we'll come back to your classmate blog critique and put that on the screen. And I should indicate that for the record, before we go back to it, Alexis is practicing what she's preaching here, because here you can see her face. And that is because she's a minor. That's what it looks like. And you could make that full size.
I do need to update that I'm a minor in this class, because I've never put on there that my minor's mass media.
Well, I certainly hope you're not ashamed by being a new mass communication minor.
No. I just forgot to put that my minor's in it. I just said something about how I'm taking it for my major, public health, but I need to put that I have a minor in it.
And being involved in health communication, that is a rising field, because you have to be an excellent communicator in all elements of media today, and health communication is certainly part of that for your backdrop. So we went to a couple of different websites, but we eventually get back to your evaluation of Carlin, so go ahead.
Yes, so I really like her organization. She has, it's very, I don't know the word, I guess like it's like streamlined, it's all the same. And I really like it because all of the photos are on the left side, and it's very well organized. I can access it very easily. My only problem would be that she doesn't have herself in the, like on the actual blog, I don't know who she is, but in her posts, I'm able to figure out her personality through her writing.
You can hear her voice.
Yeah. My only other critique is that I kind of want her background to be different, which that's completely her choice. I know the background's very like, a lot of people have it, because that was actually my background whenever I first made my blog, and then I changed it to like the notebook paper. I just want it more.
It almost looks like a greenish watercolor that is faded. But this is where all of you guys, we're going to see Anna Kirksey's website from, I think, fall of 2016 or fall of 2017, near the end of class, with what she did for her wild card. These are always going to be works in progress. I always want you to experiment, because that's the creative aspect of the blog. But if that's what she feels her voice is, that's okay.
Yeah. I think that was it. I just talked about how I really, really liked her writing. I even mentioned a post. It was let me find it. It was the one about Nike, and the girl was suing Nike about like emotional abuse. I really liked her writing in that. I thought it was really well done. I do want her to put like these are very nitpick complaints, but I want her to put the links on each of the blog posts, so we know where she got the information from. But that's about it.
But again, something like that is relevant, and it's something that on occasion I always need to reinforce in terms of mentioning. Ideally, as much as possible, whatever you are editing, you should provide a link to the story. But for some people, and they'll watch this and think, oh my gosh, I forgot to put in a link. Thanks for reminding me, Alexis. And then they'll go ahead and do it. So that's where all of you are helping each other out. And let's go back to the end of the paragraph where you say, quote, I am always looking forward to Professor Reppert saying Carlin's name and showing her website. I really love to read and see her updates. Overall, good job to Carlin. And you look forward to seeing more from this class and whatever you might take in the future. Keeping in mind that we probably aren't going to be doing as much video as we transition out of COVID, but we'll always have the websites, and that's a good way to critique people's progress. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think that's it.
Sounds good. And that's what your website looks like with the updated classmate blog critique. And as we've been doing with everyone else, let's take a look at what her stylistic approach is. Now, I'll be nitpicky. You want to make certain right there that you put a hashtag next to 16 as we scroll down. Now, we've got the more posts, but I'm not going to click on it. You want to make sure that there is design consistency, as she was mentioning with Carlin for the links, design consistency for all the numbers while you're thinking about it. So you've got hashtag, number, blank space, and then what the project is. So for all of these, it should look the same. For your format, hashtag, number, space, and then whatever the title is. So for all of these, you would want to make sure if you're going to include the dash in between, then you want to make sure it was all the way down to number 1. Again, it would be, quote, using Alexa's term, nitpicky, but in a positive way. It's just one of those little stylistic things for design consistency, which I'll say one more time now before we get to Kaylee Harrell and her news app critique. One of the reasons why we always wait until after all 20 assignments are done, because that consistency all the way through from your formatting really is important. What were we saying earlier about Morgan's website from a couple of your classmates? That she had taken different data from online sources and inserted them into Google Blogger to supercharge it, so to speak. And that's fine. This is Kaylee's website as of right now. And we're going to be looking at her news app critique. And in her case, as for me, I have several news alerts that target my notifications on my phone daily. For some, I only receive a selected amount of alerts, whereas some I'm signaled for particular articles that I've asked my phone to sound. And by the way, some of these we looked at during our class period last Thursday. But as Alexis knows, we were having issues not on my computer and my connectivity, nor the computer for Alexis, because she always joins us live, and Kaylee has on occasion too from out of state. But Blackboard was acting up. So when you watched the video from Thursday of last week on the website, or from Blackboard Ultra, the audio is always consistent, but there is a real lag time to the videos, because as you know, I go back and forth with video links, but it was very painfully slow with the lag time for the visuals. So I wanted to show Kaylee's here one more time, because this was one of the visuals that we were having an issue with, as I recall. Let's just see what this looks like when we play it. I don't know if there'll be any type of sound effect here, but I'll make it full screen. As I indicated, I think we looked at this last week, but the visuals did not scroll this way. It didn't look exactly the same because of issues provided with Blackboard. Let me play that one more time to show you what it looks like on her phone when she gets alerts. This is very helpful for those of you who really enjoy apps. I don't hear a sound effect, but that's okay. You can tell that she really is locked in on different types of news activity. And that's what she provides. This particular project doesn't necessarily have to be all that long. When discussing news apps in particular, getting access to the news that interests you can be troublesome, but with the help and mobility of apps today, it's a lot easier to navigate to the specific news you want. As we were discussing with what we just heard a moment ago with the constructive criticism provided by Alexis to Carlin with the way her website is set up, Kaylee is a perfect example of someone who has been experimenting all through the semester with different types of formats. And those of you, there's more posts, those of you who are out of state or who get all of your stuff through the app have indicated sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to get material. So there will be a little bit of slack in me allowing you some time to get caught up. The next website we are going to look at is Courtney. And we've looked at this a couple of times. And Courtney, make sure that you're watching the videos, because I wanted you, and I told you this before, to make sure that the projects are numbered and that you can figure out a way to make sure that your text is all white, not a combination of white and black, and getting rid of the shredded paper effect. Now, I'm sure there's a way to do it. And if you need our assistance or from one of your classmates to tweak any of this in terms of the number, the consistency all the way through, and we've talked about a couple of these projects, including numeracy, listening posts. Here's what you have for international harder feature news, and the link again from BBC cannot be seen. Trending on social media. A lot of these, I think you're doing a good job, but you'll want to make sure that before you submit all 20 projects, that all of this be tweaked so there is consistency all the way through in what you are providing. And let's go all the way back up to the top to make sure that the assignments on top are numbered and that the shredded paper effect is eliminated. Everything is in white text. But I can say, I think the quality of the writing on your part is improving. Now it's a matter of making sure that the look is the same from the top to the bottom of not only your blog, but from everybody else. And we are next going to examine the website from Seth. Take a quick look at what he is at. And this is his opinion on a local issue, which is the Fort Smith Chamber of Commerce. The construction progress updates on the Peak Innovation Center. And something like this makes perfect sense. The building will be home to the 12,000-foot Gene Haas Computer Integrated Machining Lab, a 9,000 square foot ABB, Automation and Industrial Lab, and then there are going to be new Baptist Health and Mercy Health Science Labs as well. So something like this for the city of Fort Smith is going to be a big improvement for its economy long term. And with his website, this is what you see. You want to make sure that culture is capitalized there for the standpoint of consistency. And we had a relevant point brought up a few minutes ago from Alexis. All of you will want to double check your blog posts to make certain that any stories that you are writing or editing or reshaping provide the original source for the article, so we can all check to see how all of you have taken the original source and are rewriting it. And that's not unusual because all broadcast affiliates, news stations, any type of online news source are always going to subscribe to the Associated Press. And the Associated Press is a template by which all of these stories are going to be rewritten. So from your standpoint, from the sake of source credibility, always try to please provide the original link so we can click on it and at least see it. And I've shown you many of those during class. The next website we are going to look at is Chris, and Chris is slowly but surely getting caught up. And even though you're getting caught up, for all of you, keep in mind that if you're ever playing from behind out of respect to everyone else, that will have an effect on your grade for the entire blog because timeliness is key from a professional standpoint. But let's go ahead and click on what he has up here at the top with overdose deaths in the United States. And he's got 1 and 2 different graphics, one on prevention, the first looking at mortality. You recall we were looking at a link to a previous story, I believe it was from Joanna's News app, that was examining overdose challenges since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. And he's got a link and another link to these particular topics. Here he says, quote, harm reduction includes providing ocean syringes to decrease the risk of transmission of infectious diseases, distribution of naloxone, and developing educational materials to reduce stigma. His final sentence includes, quote, support includes peer support services, recovery housing, job training, and nutrition support. And looking at something such as deaths from drug overdoses is appropriate from the standpoint of numeracy because the statistics in the United States can be staggering. Now, one of the things that you'll want to double check, Chris, as we go through here is examine these projects from more posts and see whether or not these can be juxtaposed so the numbers are not random. Ideally, they should all transition down from 12 to 11 to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on. Let me refresh the next website before you take a look at it. And this is going to be from Jonathan. And he is currently on International Hard or Feature News. So let's go ahead and examine that. This is Marvel Comics, Cinema Fanatics, with a YouTube link.
Quando atrapalhou o feitiço desejando que todos esquecessem que Peter Parker é o Homem-Aranha. Nós começamos a receber visitas de todos os universos.
Olá, Peter. Você vai se meter no escuro para lutar com fantasmas. Como assim?
Todos eles morrem lutando com o Homem-Aranha. É o destino deles. Sinto muito, garoto.
Eu também.
Não.
Tem que ter algum outro jeito!
Não tem. São um perigo para o nosso universo.
Ainda vai salvar todo mundo.
Exclusivo nos cinemas da sua vizinhança.
Now, something like that is fascinating, and it just jumped right out, so I didn't have a chance to pause it. But that is a Brazilian trailer for Spider-Man. And of course, as many of you know, the language that is spoken in Brazil is Portuguese. So that was a Portuguese advertisement for Spider-Man. And that would be a perfect example of an international feature story with 1 and 2 different graphics that are provided for the story. And he goes into it. The producers of Spider-Man No Way Home have already shown fans that the villains from the past Spider-Man movies will be in the film, but they have not formally announced that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will be in the movie. So he provides 3 different graphics. He's got those 2 shots here, and the video link, providing source credibility for the story. So Jonathan, in your case also, you want to make sure that you take part of Thanksgiving break to get caught up as much as possible, but that's a creative concept for international hard or feature news. Now we'll check for design consistency until we get to older posts or more posts. More posts is centered, and then I think for the other formats, older posts is over on this side. And I believe we've got one more website, and let me refresh it from fall of 2021. This person has been getting many shout outs today, and this is the website for Morgan. And as I indicated, Morgan's had some issues with the Blackboard app, and she still needs to get caught up. But what she has provided at this point is, from an aesthetic standpoint, quite creative. The downloads that she incorporated into the Google Blogger template, and I strongly encourage all of you for future classes to do this as well. So she's still catching up, but let's start up here at the top and then just show you with this template how you can have a creative approach to a news blog that is going to look professional, not only on your phone, but also on your computer, with the different sizes and varieties of font styles, video clips going all the way back to the beginning of the semester right here, the breaking news update, the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue. And because it is in a slightly different format, and also with the Read More, it gives you the opportunity to look at all of these visuals from a slightly different context. Now remember, I think it was Haley who talked about this in her classmate blog critique. Down here at the bottom, you've got different platforms on which you can share this information, which may be slightly more than you would ordinarily get with a traditional Google Blogger sharing setup. And we'll wait until after the break to do a deep dive into some of the writing and reporting that she is going to be adding to the blog. But keep in mind that we're coming up on assignment 20, which is the wild card, but it's not due until Thursday of next week. Tuesday of next week, as I indicated at the outset, we'll be doing two things. We'll do a deep dive into visual journalism projects that people have done in the past, going back to the syllabus and reminding you of what some of the specifics of the project can be, and also catching up with everyone else's blogs, whether it's the news blog critique or the news app critique, I should say, which is assignment 18, or number 19, which is the classmate blog critique. But before we get to that, let me go back to Google Drive. For those of you who are students or on the verge of graduating, I strongly encourage you to consider having Google Drive as a platform under your own, because it makes it so much easier for you to collate, collect assignments, to mark yourselves. But for our purpose right now, I just wanted to come back to this. Make sure that assignments 1 through 20 are numbered, are completed no later, ideally, than the end of next week. So as we transition into final exam week, you'll know what your scores are in the gradebook on Blackboard. But for right now, assignment 20, the wild card. Is there anything in particular that you would like to discuss for a news story that you want to have right there directly underneath the visual journalism final project? It can literally be anything that you choose. And with that in mind, I have 4 examples that I want to show today before we leave for Thanksgiving break. I am skipping intentionally fall of 2020 projects because due to the pandemic, the semester was shorter. We had a shorter time for assignments. So the way that the syllabus is structured this year was different last year. So I'm going back for a full 50-point final visual journalism project to 2019. This is Liberty Henderson. And Liberty's website looks the way that yours should look, with visual journalism final project on top and the wild card underneath. This is what Liberty's website looks like. Again, 2 years ago, her visual journalism final 2 years ago was chronicling her life as a track athlete. But I don't want to look at that for the time being. And by the way, remember, this is what Alexis was saying earlier about Carlin. Here's a photo of Liberty and a perfect example of someone who was on track to graduate in spring of 2022. At the end of that semester, she can market herself quite easily because she's got all of these courses that she took from me, and the links to the blogs are right there. That is a ready-made setup for success. Someone says, give me an example of your writing and research, and all you have to do is to drop and drag the URLs from any of these courses. Now let's go back to her blog and scroll down to her wild card from 2 years ago. Electric eel powering aquarium's Christmas lights. And here's the link. This is a very attractive aesthetic setup. The Tennessee Aquarium hopes the Christmas tree will spark love and appreciation for the unusual freshwater fish. An electric eel is shocking visitors at the Tennessee Aquarium by using its blips of electricity to power Christmas lights. And there is her headline. A system connected to the tank allows the eel shocks to power strands of light on a nearby tree, resulting in rapid succession of blinking lights, according to a news release. Now notice what she does. She embeds a tweet into the story. Now, again, this is 2 years ago, assignment 20, wild card. So this is not an edited screenshot. She actually embedded the tweet into the blog. Here's a video of yours truly attempting to use my discharges to power the lights on a Christmas tree. So let's see if it works.
It lit the tree up too. Really? It did. It flashed.
So on their body, where that fin starts on the underside, all the way to the tip of the tail, that just about 80% of his body is pretty much dedicated to producing electricity. There's 3 organs that make up that 80% of his body. And it's funny, the front 20% or where that fin starts, that's where all his other organs are. So his heart, digestive system, everything is stuffed into that little 20%. So these guys are super, they're really good at producing the electricity. They're definitely designed for it.
Now let me play that one more time. Isn't it fascinating whenever you take a look at the little girls asking the questions, and you obviously have someone there who is explaining the process of the charges from the electric eel lighting the Christmas tree. But what I also appreciate is Liberty's creativity in putting together something that ties into the spirit of the season. Because as you're well aware, Black Friday starts early. Everyone's putting up Christmas designs, and this is timely. So we've got Liberty's website that you click on, going down to the wild card itself, read more, and then within the context of the story, she provides an embedded tweet, which I appreciate because I can take this, play it 2 years later, and make the video widescreen.
It lit the tree up too. Really? It did. It flashed.
So
Now
on their
watch,
body, where
look
that
at the
fin
kids
starts
on the
the
right-hand
underside,
side.
all the way to the tip of the tail. That just about 80% of his body is.
And there's going to be at least one more burst of energy.
There's 3 organs that make up that 80% of his body. And it's funny, the front 20% or where that fin starts, that's where all his other organs are. So his heart, his digestive system, everything is stuffed into that little 20%. So these guys are super, they're really good at producing the electricity. They're definitely designed for it.
So a reminder, this is at the Tennessee Aquarium. And I'm guessing something like this, if the eels are still there, would still be going on in 2021. That would just be fascinating to watch in real time. Quote, the popular eel has boasted its own Twitter account with a little help from Tennessee Tech University's iCube Center. So this is something that would be great publicity, obviously, for Tennessee Tech University. And then there is the video of Miguel in the tank, the Christmas lights sputtering. So this is in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it is sparking an appreciation for the fish. And there is the story provided on Fox with the link. Remember, having the links within the context of the story help from the standpoint of source credibility. Back up to the top, that is what Liberty's wild card looks like. And this, for the third and final time, is what it looks like when you click on her website. So now let's go back 3 years. What did someone do for a wild card project in this class in 2018? And this is Lindsay O'Neill. Now we won't go through these in as deliberate a fashion as we just did with the video, but I just wanted to give you some other examples. This is Lindsay from 3 years ago. The top of her blog, what she did for visual journalism, we may look at that next week, but I just wanted to show you. Here is her assignment 20, the wild card. A Purdue superfan receives the Sagamore of the Wabash Award from the Indiana governor. So here you've got graphics of the young man who was very ill at the time, but a big fan of the Purdue Boilermakers. And there is a screenshot that has been edited and placed up from almost exactly 3 years ago. Trent Tyler had quite a year. He watched his favorite team, Purdue, beat Ohio State. He has a rare bone cancer. He tweeted his thanks to the governor of Indiana for choosing him as one of the latest recipients of the Sagamore of the Wabash Award, which is very prestigious in the state of Indiana. It is up to the current governor on how the award is distributed, final paragraph. It typically goes to those who have rendered a distinguished service to the state or to the governor. And I believe this young man has unfortunately passed away in the intervening 3 years, but it is helpful to see in this particular case with the date line up on top, and that's what her website looked like for this particular wild card, giving a shout out to the courage provided by this young man who's a big fan of the Purdue Boilermakers. That brings us back 4 years, and this is Shariah Singh, who went on to get a master's from SAU. I don't know in what discipline, but as you can tell, she was a big fan of puppies, and I believe that actually is her puppy. Her visual journalism project with the International Students Banquet at SAU 4 years ago. And I wanted to scroll through down to her wild cards so you could examine what her website looked like from the top 4 years ago. And she is talking about one of the biggest festivals celebrated in her home country of Nepal. And this is from the fall of 2017. And during that spring, I had the opportunity to meet her parents who came in from Nepal to watch her graduate. And I believe Shariah's sister also graduated from SAU. Second paragraph, quote, "It is the longest and most auspicious festival in the Vikram Sambat annual calendar. It is the most anticipated festival in the country." And then she winds it up by saying, among the 15 days on which it is celebrated, the most important days are the 1st, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. So the main significance is togetherness and unity among people. And it has 15 days of celebration during the bright lunar fortnight ending on the day of full moon. And that's her classmate blog critique from 4 years ago. She's looking at Houston Taylor and Justice Seymour. Let's scroll to the top so you can see, again, hate to do that to you late in the afternoon. That was from the feast provided by international students at its 2017 banquet. She's putting together a photo motif 4 years ago. Now let's go back to the fall of 2016. And this is what we were referring about earlier when Alexis was talking about Carlin and the green landscape that she provides for her website. I was mentioning that Anna Kirksey, that you're going to see now from 2016, was always experimenting during the semester with different formats. From week to week, it would change. And here you can see on the right-hand side, I can just click to her wildcard. So 5 years ago, roughly, quote, she's got Netflix now offering downloads, how things have changed in the last 5 years. First and last paragraphs in totality, quote, Netflix, the popular streaming video company, is going to start allowing customers to watch their favorite Netflix movies and shows offline, according to an announcement made on Wednesday. And then all the way at the bottom, those who have Netflix accounts will be able to download on devices that use iOS or Android. And notice what she does. A link to the original story, and the access is denied. Apparently, I'm not special enough to get into the account, but it's also 5 years ago. So sometimes the links that you provide 5 years ago may not necessarily be available, but also see 5 years ago, the different formats. I'm doing this very slowly so you can see them, on which you could share on Google Blogger and how things have changed. Now, if I click on her name, there's the top of her website, and we go from her visual journalism file. Now, does this look familiar to what Shariah Singh did the next year, because oftentimes photo retrospectives are what people would do. And that's what Anna had here. There was not at this time a user-friendly template to put it where you could just scroll from photo to photo, and there really is today. And that's her wild card, which brings us to our final website of the day to examine for a wild card project, going back 6 years ago to Dacia Pettis. I'd indicated earlier during this class period that she is on track to earn her master's degree in mass communication in the spring of 2022 at Arkansas State University. Here's what Dacia did for her wild card 5 years ago. Her visual journalism project up at the top is a performance with Encore. I tried that before class. I don't know if that video link still works. This is what she has as her wild card. And actually, I think this was something, I'm not sure if these are in order or not, but she's got the news app critique, and then she's got the wild card, which is leading to a link for YouTube. Now, I wanted to show you this. Alexis heard a little bit of it before class. Whenever I say the wild card can literally be anything you want, she went in the direction of playing a video. And this is a Southern Arkansas University Encore performance from the fall semester of 2015, and it should open in this window. Okay, it's not, but I'll go ahead and show it to you. Her link is opening in a different window, but this is a 2015 wildcard project, which is a video. And let's play about a minute of this. As I mute the audio and just let the video play, you could see that Sarah Eggleston is actually now the director of Encore. You saw her a little bit down on off stage by the music board. And of course, those of you who have been at SAU for a long time will remember that Judy Vassar, for many years, she developed Encore and retired from SAU in the spring of 2017. So what you see with these very talented young men and women on the screen is something that at the time this course was being offered, Judy was transitioning out of Encore and in her last couple of years of being a faculty member. This is a 5-minute video clip of Encore, and whenever you want to experiment, that is certainly something that you can try if you so wish, because again, that is the beauty of the wild card. If you wanted to experiment with any type of visual that might be video, is fine. Now, this is the way that we did websites 6 years ago. Obviously, it has been tweaked a little bit where it's just MM2003 space dash space and your name. But these are always going to be works in progress. And notice in the past 6 years how, and Dacia did a really good job, how we continue to shape the creativity of the blog. But I do like 6 years ago how she was putting this together. The design consistency, obviously, from a numerical standpoint, may not necessarily be the same, but from top to bottom, this is what students were doing the first year that we transitioned from assignments being given to me in Word documents to putting them on Google Blogger. And if I scroll to home, that's what it looks like up the top. So as we conclude class for this only session of Thanksgiving week, keep in mind that whenever we return for class 1 week from today, nothing is due. You can get caught up with the Assignment 19, the Classmate Blog Critique, or Assignment 18, the News app, And before we officially conclude, let me go back to Blackboard and remind you of the remaining course sessions that will be recorded. I am currently in the professor's mode on Blackboard. There's the announcement to access course videos. Some things don't change. Tools, Ultra. The recordings next week on Ultra will be Tuesday, November 30th, and Thursday, December 2nd. And I will be here on Wednesday of final exam week at the same time, Wednesday the 8th. None of these class sessions have now or ever been required for you to attend, but you have the opportunity to think about what you want to do for those final projects. 50 points in visual journalism, and that's what we are going to spend most of our time on Tuesday of next week examining. Those particular projects can be data visualization, short videos, something that you want to do on TikTok, really anything from the standpoint of telling a news story visually. I told you during our most recent class session last Thursday, if you had a drone video camera, you could experiment with that as well. How is it going to look on your phone? How is it going to look from a journalism standpoint on your computer? Because remember, that's the first thing anybody who accesses the website is going to see when they click on your name. So you want it to be a capstone showcasing your professionalism and thoughtfulness and maturity as a news writer, reporter, and editor in this class. Have a safe Thanksgiving break. We will continue 1 week from today with research on not only looking at what we're doing for wildcard projects number 20, due Thursday of next week, and also what you might have on the short list as far as final visual journalism projects are concerned. But as you can see, from all of the classmate blog critiques that were discussed today, we're doing really well, but there's always room for improvement. I feel that way as a professor, and I want all of you to feel that way as students. Let's continue the good work. Happy Turkey Day. Happy Black Friday. As for MM2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, that concludes the recording session for today.